Welcome to the Tied Together podcast, where we feature everyday people doing extraordinary things. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share so others can join in on the conversation too. Today's guest took lessons of pain and turned them into purpose. After hitting a rough patch in high school and college, Diani fell into a depression she couldn't see herself out of. She then took time to heal from past hurts and made a promise to become the best version of herself. Today, she is speaking her truth in public forums to uplift and empower women through teaching faith and self-love. She's an author, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur. Welcome, Diahni Sample. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hey. So I want to talk about your self-worth journey. I know you're really
Okay.
pushing that, on young women so that they can have self-worth.
Yes.
What does self-worth mean to you?
So to me, self-worth means knowing not only who you are as a person, but knowing what you want from life, knowing your own traits and your own things, within that can hinder you or help you grow. It's really just a sense of being aware and knowing to me. Like, you can't expect anybody else to see you as worthy or to treat you worthy if you don't even know that you're worthy. So it's really just a sense of being aware of who you are, being aware of how you feel, being aware of why you do what you do. Mm-hmm. And so all of that plays a role into self-worth to me.
Yeah, absolutely. How did your idea of your own self-worth change over the years? In your book, you were really cataloging from the ages of, 15 to 19? Yeah.
Right.
So
Yes.
what would you say your 15-year-old's self-worth was compared to where you are today?
My 15-year-old self-worth was ideally based on what people thought of me. Validation. Like validation from my mom, validation from my dad, validation from family, validation from friends, validation from boys. So I think I truly thrived on validation, being that young, thinking, okay, I have to, know what somebody thinks of me, or I have to abide by what people think of me to be where I am. So that validation played a role in a dangerous role in my life, because if you're expecting somebody to validate you, when they don't validate you, you feel like nothing. When they don't validate you, you feel like your whole world is falling apart. You don't know who you are. So from 15 to 19, I dealt with exactly that, looking to be validated by every single person that I held close to me, and not realizing that the only person's approval that I really, really needed to know about was mine. Mm-hmm. And so that's how it changed for me. And so to be from a validation standpoint of, what you think about me or what you feel about me matters most, and that shapes who I am, to now saying, what do I think about me? How do I talk to me? How do I see me? And that changed the ideal of worth to me from a lot, letting go of people's importance in my own self-worth to making my own importance a priority.
Yeah, I think a lot of people deal with that. And you mentioned something about like self-talk, like what do you say to yourself?
Yes, what are you saying to yourself? How are you talking to yourself? For me, I know that I'm an overthinker, naturally an overthinker. So I can play a lot of scenarios in my head. I can run a lot of words through my mind, a lot of thoughts through my mind, and not really see how it's damaging or helping me. And then I got to this point now where it's like, affirmations are important. I did not know what affirmations were last year. I did not know that it was important for me to say I love you to myself. That it was important for me to say you're powerful, you're beautiful, you're worthy, you deserve the best love. I wasn't talking like that a year ago. I was just getting up every day and honestly feeding myself with what everybody else was saying about me. So I didn't have my own mantra of what I said to myself, how I saw myself. It was more so what everybody was saying about me, and those were my affirmations. Those were my mantras. Somebody tells me, Diani, you're great. Diani, you're successful. Diani, you're this. I fed off of that. That kept me going. Yeah. But I wasn't even fueling that same energy into myself.
Yeah. When you started, go ahead.
So that's speaking to yourself and really, really talking to yourself and letting your voice matter. It was like I was hypocritical, because how could I tell everybody else your voice matters, and then I wasn't even listening to my own voice?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. When you started, speaking life into yourself, did you believe it? What's that
No.
process like when you start? Because a lot of people deal with that. They speak negatively over themselves, and they hear that you're supposed
Right.
to switch. You're supposed to
Right.
speak life into yourself. So what was that like? When did you start believing?
So, from my book, like I said, last year, July 7th, 2019, I had this self-check, this moment where it was like, you got to get yourself together. Every situation that you're dealing with right now is simply because you've put yourself there. You need to really get it together. And so it started with, saying little things like, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, I'm lovely, I'm great, I'm a queen. But I did not believe that in those moments because of everything that I just went through. If you read in the book, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
I had an abortion. I was in relationship where it was just like I didn't know myself. So all of that played a role into me not really believing it. Like, okay, you could say it, but sometimes people want to see it. Sometimes you have to see it. And so when it changed for me, when I started believing it, was when I started acting like it as well. If I told myself I'm beautiful, I got up every day and dressed in a way that made me feel beautiful. It was summertime, so I was able to wear dresses. I was able to wear colors, and I truly took that to my advantage, and that really shaped the way I kind of saw myself, looked in the mirror every day as well. And not only just dressing, but taking time to look at myself in the mirror, seeing who I'm dealing with, and really saying, you are beautiful. You are, you are great. You are worthy. And so that was a process in itself. It had to go from me just saying it to me doing stuff that reflected it.
Right. That's important. That's important because if you don't believe you're beautiful and you stare at yourself in the mirror and you don't see the beauty, repetition, just repeating over and over, I'm beautiful, I'm
Exactly.
beautiful, I'm beautiful. It seemed that
Exactly.
like that really sunk in for you.
It did. It really did. And also using my phone to my advantage. Like, okay, even though I'm not on social media, that doesn't mean that I'm just this, I'm just this blob that, has nothing going for itself, or I just have nothing happening right now. I still got up, took pictures, whether it was just on my phone, took selfies. I never took selfies in the past because, it was just this idea of what's a perfect selfie. And I never had this sense of thinking, like I'm not attractive or I'm not good looking. It was just more so of like I just don't fit that standard. And so when I got on this self-love journey, it was more so like start taking selfies of yourself, start taking pictures of yourself, start filling yourself up with you, and you. And that really changed for me.
So how did you quiet the voice of other people? Because, a lot of people look for validation, right?
Right.
And they want the world to say they're great and what they're doing is great. And this is the social media era. So you get
Right.
that instant, like, you're beautiful, you're great, love what you're doing. And
Right.
turn that off and turn on your own voice is a journey by itself. So how did you
Right.
start putting more weight to your words than other people's words?
Started putting more weight to my words than other people's words when I got off of social media. I had to get off of social media. I literally was off last year for 6 months. I shut down my Instagram and it was still up, it was still open, but I was not on it. I got off of Instagram. I got off of Facebook. I deleted Snapchat, was done with Snapchat for 100% good. And I got off of that aspect of the world. Like, okay, isolate yourself. Because social media is literally the dig into everybody else's life naturally. Yeah. As soon as you log into social media, you're automatically connected with people, whether you like it or not. So that was the first step, getting off of social media. The second step for me was spending time with me. Like, I live in a house with 10 people. But, I had to really say, stop making excuses. You can live in a house with 10 people, 5 people, 20 people. There's still always an opportunity to find some time for yourself.
Yeah.
So whether I went outside, whether I went to the basement, whether I even just got in an Uber and went to a restaurant by myself, just to sit down with me for a second, that was my way of tuning out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, these headphones, there was times where I would just play in affirmations that people have, recorded and said, and I would play that in my ear and turn it up so I would just be naturally tuned out from my surroundings for a second. Little things, little things that you have to really find what pushes you, what works for you. Some people that may not work for them, but for me in the moment, it was like, you can live without social media. You can live without social media. You can find some space for yourself if you really want it. And you can use these tools that you buy to your advantage.
That's true. That's true.
Use them for your healing.
That's true. That's beautiful. I'm curious, what sparked you even getting there? Do you feel like you reached a personal rock bottom moment?
Before I got on this journey of self-love, do I feel like I reached a yes, I did. And for me, it was like, I have to talk about this to get through this. And so of course, I'm women empowerment. I'm young women. I'm speaking, dreaming, living, sisterhood, all of those things. But at the time, last year, July 7th, 2019, I was not that. I was portraying that, but that wasn't who I was. And it all stemmed from the relationship that I was in. I was in a relationship with somebody who I'm still with today. I was with them. We were together 3 years. And, I say was because it's like we're starting over and transitioning now. And during that time, we both decided that we were really unhappy. However, we still tried to force and fake that happiness for everybody around us. And it ended up crumbling in our faces. My partner started dealing with somebody else, and I did not know how to eat that. I did not know how to deal with that. But I still felt like I had a reputation to keep up, so I had to hide that. I had to hide how I felt. I also felt like there were times where I just had to accept him dealing with somebody else. I had to accept him being with somebody else and just say, that's just what it is. And trying to live like that and be inspirational speaker, empowerment just did not go. So I ended up crumbling.
Right.
I ended up crumbling with one thing that I promised myself I never do is have a public breakdown or a public outburst. July 7th, 2019, I walked into a local store by my house, and I saw my partner and this other person together, and I completely lost it. I had a mental breakdown. I could have gotten arrested, and my whole life could have been for the turns. So if that wasn't rock bottom for me, I don't know what was.
Yeah. I've heard multiple times that nobody hits rock bottom twice, right?
Right.
You never go back to that same place. Now, you may get close, you may hover, and I'm not just speaking you, I mean everybody in general. Right. You may hover above rock bottom, but you'll never get back to that bottom place again because you visited it. And you'll always springboard a little higher the next time. You and I spoke about, prior to this interview, spoke about your relationship with your dad. Could you see in any way, shape, or form how that relationship that you've had with your father could play a role in where you wound up being between 15 and 19, and how so? Yes. if you do see that?
Yes, I do see that. And what I see is, not only do I see that just validation of wanting to know what you think of me or what you feel for me. With my dad, I always seek validation from my mom because my dad wasn't present in the picture. And the only thing I wasn't sure of was, did he not want to be in the picture, or was he being held back from the picture? And so wanted to know that validation of, what do you want? As my father, what happened? What is it? And so I think that played a role into how I also seek that validation from boys, from men, saying, okay, if I'm trying to figure out what role my dad wants to play in my life, I'm juggling what role these boys want to play in my life.
Right.
And then not only juggling that role of what do you want to be in my life, but that closure. I feel like between 15 and 19, I did not gain that closure from my dad that I wanted, because him and my mom's situation was so confusing, and it still kind of is. Like, every time I talk to one, every time I talk to the other, they both had different sides of the story of who was wrong, who did what, why did we end up where we are today as a family, as a unit. So not having that closure and that understanding of what it is, that closure of what it is, I think that played a role for me in how I see the relationships that I have with boys. Like, okay, if we stop talking, or if we stop being, together, or if you don't want to deal with me in that way anymore, tell me why. And I think that I've dealt with a lot of guys who didn't tell me why.
Gotcha.
And that comes from that. I think that all plays a role. Even if I don't 100% see it yet, I think that all plays a role in what I went through.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm going to ask you this, and I ask it for a reason. At the time, did you know that?
No.
Yeah, I don't think.
No, I didn't know that at all.
There's a lot of young women, a lot of young men too, that deal with issues from one parent not being around. But we'll speak about young women, since, you definitely deal with women empowerment.
Right.
There are a lot of young women who deal with their father not being around, and they go through certain issues regarding maybe abandonment or, just certain aspects of life or self-worth. They don't see maybe their father fight for them, even though dad may have been fighting in the background. They don't know about it. They didn't see it. They didn't internalize it that way. So that now dictates their self-worth. Well, I must not have been good enough for you to fight for, so I'm not worthy of it, are things that they tell themselves. So my question to you is, if there is a young lady, grown woman, because grown women go through daddy issues too. If there are any women out there that are going through issues of self-worth because they perceive their father as not fighting for them, and they are now telling themselves that they're not worthy of it, what would you say they can do to turn that self-talk around?
Go talk to their fathers if possible. I think that I had to give my dad a chance. I had to give my dad a chance. I had to 100% give my dad a chance. Like, I had to say, okay, I love my mom, and I know my mom, probably fought the hardest for me out of anybody, but I have to tune my mom out for this conversation. So for me, if my dad is still alive and breathing, which is a blessing, and so I was able to actually make the decision to go live with him.
Okay.
And to go spend that time with him and to see, okay, who are you? And for some women that may not be possible. So I would say that if that isn't possible, and if you aren't able to physically make that decision or make those changes due to any circumstances that you're under, I would say to try to talk to people in your family and maybe see the different stories that they could tell you, and maybe create your own perception on it based on that. Your own learning, because unfortunately everybody can't just go pick up and go stay with their dads.
Right.
So I would say to honestly, for one, tune out the pros and cons between what happened, what you feel, what you think may have happened, and the reality of what really could have happened. At least give an option for it to be different.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say that for sure. Because if I didn't do that, I could have walked around my whole life still to this day saying, my dad, he didn't want to be around, or my dad hurt my mom, or, it's my dad's fault that he's not in the picture. If he would never did this, and this, then we would be here, here, and here. But again, I wasn't even born, when they were going through those changes. Right. I don't know what really would have happened unless I was physically there. So now in this moment, I know that I want a relationship with my dad. And see, again, before you can go striving for change, you truly have to want it.
Yeah.
You truly have to want it.
Yeah.
You have to want that change. Some people don't really want the closure. Some people do like living in that state of victim, of being, victimized. And so for me, I didn't like how that made me feel. I didn't like how that sob story of my dad was never in my life when he's living and breathing and he wasn't so far from me. So that was a decision I had to make.
Yeah.
And I truly wanted it.
Yeah, I get that. It took for me until I was probably 21. I had already had my son by then. He was 3, to realize how human my parents were. I just didn't look at them like that. Your mom, your dad, there's a level of perfection you're supposed to hit. Was the idea in my head. Right. And I had this 3-year-old, my son, asking me questions that I didn't know the answer to, random 3-year-old questions.
Right.
Answer to, and I would think to myself, why do you think I know this? And then I had to think of my own relationship with my parents. Like, well, I expect my parents to know. I expect them to have all the answers and always do the right thing.
Right.
I said to somebody one time, because I had been disappointed by my parents, because they're human, but I held my parents on this pedestal and I expected them to stay on it, and they kept climbing down, and it frustrated me. And I just had to realize that they are people and they make mistakes, and you have to allow them the grace to be people and see, well, is there a way that they're trying to be good parents?
Right.
In what ways are they showing me their love? There are some people who the best way that they can show their love is by their absence because of whatever they're going through. But I do believe it's important, like you said, to have that good self-talk,
Oh yeah.
that regardless of what they're doing, what they've done, that you realize that you're worthy. And I'm glad that you went through your journey and you gave your father an option, but you also
Yes.
realized that you were worthy regardless of what happened.
Of what happened, and not only that, thinking of the mindset of like, if it was me,
Mm-hmm.
would I want that? Would I want somebody giving me an option, especially if I never got the chance to tell my whole story?
Right.
And so sometimes I always think of where I would be if I was in somebody else's shoes, like my dad. And then I also had to do a little bit of history, like family history. Like my dad, his parents had him at 15.
Mm.
You know, my mom, she didn't get to be with any one of her parents.
Oh,
And
wow.
so these were two young, emotionally unstable, hurting children who came together and made me. They didn't know all the end. They were just children. You know, yes, they were going on 21, but I'm 21 and I still feel like I still have some things that separate me from being adult to childlike.
Right.
So it's like, I had to really sit back and kind of do a self-check with myself, like all that perfection that I think that I want from you two right now, I don't even expect that, because now that I'm 21 and I'm literally in that same bracket 21 years later, the pressure that my mom put on me to be perfect, I wish that it was never there. And for that, it's like when I hit the reverse button, I'm happy that I no longer expect that from neither one of you guys.
Yeah.
Because you were just my age when you created a life, it brought a life into this world.
Yep.
So I can't imagine what you were going through. I can't imagine what state of mind you guys were in, coming from two places of hurt naturally as children, and growing up with the same abandonment issues.
Yes.
Growing up with the same not having closure issues. Both of my parents grew up without having closures from theirs. So however they treated each other, however they came together to make me, that poured into me, I believe. And so seeing that 21 years later, it's a happy and a harsh feeling at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's happy because it's like, okay, this can really help me progress and grow. But then it's harsh because it's like, damn, I did make that decision, and that decision based off of that. Right. And like, where would I have been if I knew that then? If I was 15-year-old with this type of enlightenment, if I was 19 with this type of enlightenment, what would have changed for me? Mm-hmm. What could I have prevented? So that those things go through my mind constantly.
Yeah. I think it's dope that you reached that place, that you could look at where your parents were and really, give them that grace to be, know. I hope for everybody that they could look back at their parents and just see the human in them, that they're people just like we are. People. No more perfect, No more perfect. No, they're the same. So I want to fast track just a little bit.
Okay.
And just touch on a few things while I ask you the next question. So you did go to college for a semester. Two semesters. And decided that wasn't for you at the time. You took a break and then launched a few businesses.
The other way around.
Okay.
I graduated high school. Planned to go to college. Didn't have the money for it.
Gotcha.
Took the break.
Okay.
Launched the businesses during that break.
Gotcha.
And then went to school.
Okay. Got it. We got the order of it.
Just reverse.
So tell me about the businesses. Tell me about what you're doing for yourself right now.
Woo. Okay. So right now, I am 3 years in March as a entrepreneur. And so I am an inspirational speaker, meaning that I go to schools, events, anywhere. I host my own events where I am speaking life into my generation, into the young women around me, sometimes even young men. Mm-hmm. So I'm an inspirational speaker. That's number one, because that literally shapes this whole thing for me. After I'm an inspirational speaker, I am also currently a 3-book author. I have a business ebook, I have my journal, and I have my self-love guide, Perfectly Imperfect. And those are 3 books where not only do I share my story, but I give the steps and the tools of things that I feel like I used to help me be where I am today. And again, where I'm going to go. After that, I am a business mentor. I did not expect to be a business mentor. But I've noticed that every time somebody's asking for my help, it's literally about business. So I became a business mentor, and I label myself a business mentor that takes time and dedicates time to helping people see that they can take a risk on themselves and live the life that they deserve, and they can push their dreams if they believe in self. It's all about mindset shift. So I'm a business mentor in that aspect. No, I cannot get you successful in 10 days. I do not believe that I can help you make 100K in 10 days or 100 days. I don't go by that mindset of being a business mentor. I go more so of where you need to get before you even think about starting a business. Gotcha. So that mental state of mind, that self-love, that removing all of those thoughts and all of those toxic traits and things that you hold within that hinder you from living your dreams and starting your businesses. That's where my mentoring kicks in.
That's dope. So
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask a question that's gonna seem a little weird, but stick with
me.
Okay. Up until the point you started your business, you had not succeeded at a number of things. You had a number of losses that really would tell you or tell a person, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at getting it all together. But you go on to win. How did you go from, I don't know if it was a complacency mindset or a losing mindset, but whichever it was, to a winning mindset? How do you do that? How do you believe that you can win if you had already seen so many losses?
So for me, my losses came not only from a business standpoint, but from a personal standpoint. Mm-hmm. From having events that weren't successful, from having challenges in business of, not being paid what I was worth or not, being booked for here and there. I dealt with those losses at the same time that I was dealing with losses of my relationship crumbling because, I had toxic traits within myself that I wasn't willing to deal with, having an abortion. All of that happened like back-to-back triple effects. So like you said, does it go from a losing mindset to a winning mindset, and how? Mm-hmm. For me, it was never a losing mindset. For me, it was what's the word? It's because it was like that being so stuck in my ways or being so comfortable with what I wanted to do that I wasn't ready to change. It was that fear of transitioning mindset, because losing to winning basically is a transition. Yeah. But for me, it was, this is where I am, this is where I'm comfortable being, to where this is where you need to go. And this is where you have to push yourself to go. Mm-hmm. And this is what you got to go through to push. Mm-hmm. So it was that fear of transition.
Was it uncomfortable?
That fear of change. Oh, it's still uncomfortable. It's still uncomfortable. Oh my goodness. Uncomfortable is the most natural word that I could use for it. Like, yeah. It really is, because it's like going against the grain. It's like, it's not something that everybody's doing. Right. It's not always accepted, and it doesn't always turn over to, cookies and cherries and rainbows. Sometimes you lose people in the process. Yeah. Sometimes you got to give up something to get somewhere. Yeah. So uncomfortable is not even the word, but
why is it being uncomfortable necessary?
I think that uncomfortable is being necessary because it pushes you to your next level without you even being ready. I think that when you're uncomfortable, you're forced to face your reality. When you're uncomfortable, you're forced to say, this is working, this is not working. If I stay here, this is what it's going to be. If I move on and push forward, this is what it's going to be. It's like the accountability falls back on you when you're uncomfortable. It's like you're uncomfortable. For me, I know that feeling of uncomfortableness and saying to myself, you got to move. Like, what do you, like, this is on you. Because time's waiting for nobody. Mm-hmm. People aren't waiting for nobody. People are still moving and living. So if you're really feeling this, you're so uncomfortable and it's not right, the only person that holds the power to really change it is you, right? So not only are you forced to face reality when you become uncomfortable, which is necessary, you're also forced to take accountability for where you go next. And that's necessary, because a person who lacks accountability is a person who lacks reasoning with self, a person who is unable to put responsibility on themselves, a person who's unable to reflect. So for me, that's important. And learning that, and still learning that today, because I don't even think I've reached my greatest version of myself. I don't think that I'm nowhere near there yet. I think that I still have some things to go through and some things to get through. And so for that, to know that, and to be one-on-one with being uncomfortable, it's like, okay, I'm ready for what comes, because I know that it's on me.
Yeah. Yeah. Girl, all that was just fire. All of that. For real. So I love that, there is growth in being uncomfortable. That's for sure. So just talk to the people who are in their comfortable spot, not growing. They want to grow. They just don't know how to move into that uncomfortable spot so that they can start to grow. What do they do next?
So here's the mindset shift for me, is what I've learned. A person who truly wants to grow will find their how once they find their why. The first question, if you saying that, you don't know how, or you don't know where to start or where to go, why do you want to move anyways? What's the why? Why do you feel the change? Why are you uncomfortable? Because once you know why you're uncomfortable, once you know why you need to move, once you know why change is necessary, why do you want that? Why do you want that? Because sometimes we say we want something and we truly don't want it. We truly don't want it. We say we want it. We think we know what we want. And then when it comes, it is not everything we asked for, or we didn't prepare for it. And then sometimes when you ask a person, you say, well, why did you even do that? Why did you even want that? Why did you even start that? Why? They don't have an answer for you. So a lot of people, including myself, we're lacking our why. We were lacking our why. And for that, we don't know. That's why we can't figure out how, because we don't even know why we're doing it. So for me, I think that if you're feeling like you're in a space where you don't know where you want to go, you don't know how to change that uncomfortableness that you're feeling to really get to that level that you're thriving for, that you say that you're thriving for, you need to sit down and really figure out why first.
Yeah.
Why? Because for me, I could have said, yeah, I want to heal, I want to be better, but why? Why do I want to be better? Oh, I want to be better because I want to be a true, genuine example for my generation. I want to be better because, and that whole because, what is the cause? What is your being to, what's your cause? What is that? For me, I want to be better because I don't like that feeling of speaking in front of 100 women who are dependent on me, and I'm fraudulent. I'm fake with them because I'm dealing with things that I'm not even willing to speak about. Oh, why do I want to heal? Why do I want to be better? Because I see that all of the other women around me, they want that same guy. They just don't know where to get it. So why do I want to be better? So they can be better. Yeah. Because if I can share what I'm going through, if I can tell you that I'm here today and I went through this, and this, you may have a little push or a little fuel. Those are my whys. Those are my whys. Why do I believe that I have to go for my dreams and I have to believe in my dreams? Because both of my parents didn't get a chance to believe in theirs, or they got the chance and they let being young and being in their situations, hinder them for that. Or they felt like they were unworthy of that greatness because of the decisions they made. Both of my parents didn't have a chance to be that living example. Do they still have that chance now? Yes. But why do I go hard to make sure that I live in those opportunities and I take them from me, so they can see that their lives weren't unworthy. So they can see that they have a daughter that truly honors them, and a daughter that wouldn't be where she is today if it wasn't for them. Those are my whys. So once you know your whys, then you know how you're going for it. You see? So It's like that plays hand in hand.
Yes. Listen, I can see how you are inspiring the masses when you go out there and talk. I always talk about the look on somebody's face, their body language when they're speaking about something they're passionate about. Right. To piggyback off of what you're saying, when you find your why, you will look like Diani. You will look like that when you speak about it. It could be about dogs. It could be about writing. It could be about architecture. When you start speaking with your body and you're so excited, you're trying to convey to somebody how much love you have for this thing, your why is in there. It's right.
Your why is Exactly. Your why literally fuels everything that you do. Why did you make this decision? Why did you decide this or that? Like, once you know that, once you have that sense of self-awareness to where, okay, I know why I did that. So I know why I'm here. I know where it led me. Then you can start to move because, again, you're no longer asking for validation. Oh, somebody else or something else is no longer fueling that awareness in you. You're doing it for self.
Yep.
And so when somebody tries to come and break you for what you're doing or break you for the path you're taking, you know your why. That doesn't really affect you.
That's right. That's right. Oh man, Diani. So I need to know, what is next? What's next for you on your journey? What do you have planned?
Ooh. What's next for me on my journey is 100% giving myself to my collection, my business, my company, the Female Boss Collection. This is a dream that I started 2 years ago that wasn't successful in the last 2 years. And I didn't know why at first. And then I learned that it was because I 100% wasn't breathing, living, and building this brand. I was more so giving it little bits and pieces, or more so expecting the results and the success to just come naturally because of everything else that I've done or built. Not realizing that every time you start a new project, every time you start a new journey, you have to work 100%, 10 times as hard for it. So 2 years ago, I wasn't doing that. For the last 2 years, I wasn't. I decided October 16th of this year to relaunch the Female Boss Collection, and I can see the energy shift of how I treat my business. My business is my baby. So what's next is 100% more products, more services, more events. I'm definitely planning an event for Valentine's Day of 2021. I'm going into I want to spend more time with women sharing that perfectly imperfect side of me. Because, business is great, and business is something that I think we all, want to learn about. We're all trying to understand. But if we don't understand self, then we can't even enjoy the fruits of the labor that come with business. So I want to have more. I'm going to have my self-love retreats coming up next year, that's new. I haven't done that before. A lot of girls' weekends where we're spending a lot of time together, really, really pushing this self-love, not just talking about it, not just posting about it, but really being about it. Yeah. And I think that's also going to fuel my next level of self-love for me. I'm not going to just be doing it, to make money and teach women, but to also be understanding why I'm really doing this. What is my purpose? And, learning myself and learning more about me through these amazing women that I know are all going to come with stories. So that's definitely what's next. And really just growing. I think that growing and knowing my worth in my personal life, knowing my worth in my business, I think that that's really what's next for me. Like, okay, now that you're aware, what actions are you going to put behind it to really get there?
Yeah.
So those are important. Female Boss Collection right now is number one to me right now. Because I realized, the last 2 years that success came from me. That not having that success was because of me. Was because of what I poured into it. You only what you pour out is what you get back. So for me, it's like now the Female Boss Collection, I'm going to really treat it like something that I believe is worth success. It came from my mind. So it's worthy because it came from me, and I'm worthy. If I'm worthy, then whatever thoughts run through me that can fuel my elevation and my success are worthy. Yeah. So treating the Female Boss Collection like she's worthy, because she is, even if she's a company, but she's a company that's going to change lives because her CEO, her founder is growing and learning how to do just that. So that is definitely what's next, and the events and just the amazingness that come with that.
So when people want to find the Female Boss Collection, your book, more about you, where on social media or the internet can they find you and those things?
Instagram, Facebook, and my websites, of course. The Female Boss Collection has her own website. She has her own Instagram page and her own Facebook page. And Diani, me, I have my own Instagram, Facebook, and website as well. So all of that, you can go to my Facebook page, which is my name, or you can go to my Instagram page and literally be linked to everything else.
Gotcha.
So it's all in one spot, all the same. But the Female Boss Collection definitely has her own platforms, and as well as I do.
Gotcha. Perfect. Diani, last question. Is there a quote that you live by?
Oh, yes. And And I can't remember it word from word because I haven't said it to myself in a while. Okay. So I think today is the perfect day to remind myself of that. This quote that pushed me a year ago and something that I kept putting in my mind as a reminder was, Queen, you may not be where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be. And for that, you deserve a round of applause. And I could be saying it wrong, but I know that it's along those lines. I have it in my phone somewhere. And that right there, if that doesn't fuel an energy of just to keep going or a reminder of worthiness, I don't know what does. Because for me, it's like, I'm not a perfectionist, but I damn sure want to be on a certain level. Right. And I want to control every aspect of my life I do. And so for me, I have to always remind myself, Diani, just because you're not right there right now, that does not mean that you're lost or that you're unworthy or that you're just not worth it all. That does not mean that. It means that you're going to get there. But I need you to remember where you were a year ago. Because where you were a year ago, you could look that girl in the mirror today and tell her, I'm happy that you wanted to heal. I'm happy that you went through that. Thank you for going through that. You can look back and be thankful for those moments because now you have a story to tell and you have something to share. So that reminder of, Queen, you may not be where you want to be, which is a constant reminder to myself because I always feel like I need to be higher, higher, higher. Queen, you may not be where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be. And for that, you deserve a round of applause. That's all the validation I need. That's how I continue to clap for myself. So that quote right there, any queen that's listening, us, I think we need that because as women, there's tolls. We're put on with so many roles and so many expectations of what we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be maneuvering. And we got to remind ourselves that, like, this life thing is every day at a time. Yes, and it's important to remember that before you try to beat yourself up for not getting there yet.
Yeah.
So that's definitely important to me.
I love your quote, but I like that last part. This life thing is every day at a time.
Yes. This life thing is every day at a time. And it's okay not to have it all figured out overnight. And I think nobody does. And when I got a gist of that, it was like, okay, relax. Enjoy the fact that you're right here, right now, that you are smiling because a year ago, Diani, you wanted to be dead. A year ago, Diani, you hated everything about you. Look at that. Look at that. You created 3 books out of that. You created a platform out of that. You're worth so much, and that's important.
I appreciate you and everything you are doing.
Thank you.
I loved having you on today. I really do. Again, if you're looking for more from Diani, we have the links posted at the bottom in the description, and it streamed across minutes ago. Make sure you tune into what she's doing. If you are also in your early 20s and you are telling yourself you are too young, she is a prime example that you are not. If you are not in your early 20s and you are older than Diani, and you're saying, well, I wish I did that at 21, that is not too late for you.
At all.
Never, ever too late.
It's never, ever too late. As long as you're breathing in another 24 in your body, as long as you're blessed to do that, it's never too late.
That's it. Listen, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below. I appreciate all you watching. Thank you, Diani, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
If you don't know your purpose, just ask God. Just ask the people around you. Don't make it more, don't outthink the room. Don't outthink the room. And then be patient. Don't, because the first thing, jump up and ask him to give you peace about, what's my purpose, and give me peace. And if you do that, ask the people around you, you'll find your purpose and what works for you.